Recording. Great. On this computer. Is this great? Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Pat Stouty, and I'm just thrilled to have all of you with us today. Myself and other mentors that are on the phone, on the call with us. I see Dee Garcia and Cheryl Child are here with us as two other global directors. And we're here to work together. And today, my job is just to facilitate this group as we explore our new Habits of Health 2.0 transformational system. So what we asked was hopefully, so we want this to be as interactive. If you have any background noise, please keep yourself muted. But if you have questions, and we'd love to hear, or comments, we'd love to hear from you. So what we're doing is, we're the first ones as coaches to have this amazing system. And I have Dr. A's book as well here with me. Kind of three pieces. When you buy the system, you get the two big books. The coaching guide is electronic, available to us in the learning management system. Some of us have printed it and then had it bound. Office Depot, Office Max, FedEx, which I want to call Kinko's. It used to be Kinko's. Do great jobs, and there may be other people in your area. So I did it just to have a hard copy. The good news is this hard copy is already in new coach kits. So brand new coaches will be receiving a hard copy. And what that tells me is eventually these will be available to us probably to buy from the company as well. So if you wear out your first one, then you can go probably, I think they'll be available to us. So what we asked last week when it was sort of our orientation group we met is asking coaches to come together, go through this. Most of us have been clients of our awesome program. Some still are. Our newer coaches are still our clients. Some of us, at different points, want to focus on one of the amazing elements or macro habits. And so, we're all in different places. I know myself, some of you may not know my story. I've been with Optavia for over 12 years, as some of the coaches that are here with us lost 70 pounds and have managed to, with the Habits of Health, maintain that weight loss. But, are we ever perfect? There are other areas we can continue to work on, whether that's your sleep or motion, hydration, stress reduction. So you get to choose which element you want to work through. But as coaches, we will be guiding our clients through this system. So therefore, the purpose of this group is to learn and to be able to look at this not only as a coach, but also as a client. So what we asked last week was to go through, start in your life book, go through the introduction and element one. So let's start with the introduction, and would love to hear if anyone had any great takeaways from reviewing the introduction. How did that go for you? What, anything you would like to share with how it made you feel going through it? Any process you used that you felt like worked great for you?
It really, I think, reinforces, health and our verbiage that we like to say, creating a better version of ourselves. It is a lifelong journey, and none of us have arrived. And really, none of us will ever arrive. It's like raising kids. They're always part of us. And, some days we do things wonderfully, and other days we wish we could do them over again. But I love that whole concept of the transformation. Because we're all transforming. I am not the same person I was when I started coaching. Pat will vouch for that, and Cheryl. I had just a lot of things that I was struggling with, and you know, we're all struggling with stuff, but how can we move forward and create that better version?
Exactly. Exactly. Anybody else have something you'd like to share? Cheryl.
Yeah, I love having that well-being evaluation right there in the introduction. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm constantly thinking about my client candidates right now that I just want to go shove this in their face. Say, look what we have coming. But I love the well-being evaluation, which of course changes all the time. It helped me get clear on, I was talking to Pat about my goals, my element 1, why and stuff. And it was when I went and did the well-being evaluation again, I realized that the emphasis, actually, the truth is it's a little bit different emphasis than I thought it was. So, I think it's great to have it here. I used a pen on it, which I'm not sure I should have, because I'd like to just keep going back and redoing it. I'll probably just go back and do it in a pencil in, 6 months or something. But.
Exactly. I want to share. Yeah. And that was one of the points I wanted to share was a lot of us, and Deb Sesker is really the one that said this to me, and it made the most sense. I don't know, some of us have been coaches a long time, some are brand new, but for those of us that have maybe been a coach for a long time, and I was struggling earlier this week, and we discussed this on our morning calls, which all of you are invited to join us, but and I think the beginning of this is really looking at your current reality. Well, no matter where you are in life, my current reality today is very different than it was even 6 months ago, because I just went through a surgery. But, whether it's illness or family issues or where you are in your life or your business, recognizing your current reality, it may make us a little uncomfortable. For me, it was very uncomfortable. And I had in having the discussion with a few people, a few peers that I'm very comfortable with, they helped me to realize it's because my current reality has changed. And that's what we said is, hey, you know what, let's work through this, maybe in pencil, knowing that we want to move our current reality forward. So great lesson already, Cheryl. Way to go. Anyone else have anything they want to share? Lori Levin.
Yeah, thank you, Pat, Dee, Cheryl, everybody on the call. I love the well-being evaluation too, and I just wanted to say, I kind of got a little teary-eyed last night doing it because my quality of life has so improved over the past just couple years. If I go back 10 years, even more so, but just in the last year or two, this well-being, I can remember my scores, and then it helped me also going through all this. When I look at the macro habits, eating for me, a lot of these things are really easy for me. People that come from 20 years of severe GI issues, diarrhea, constant, all that stuff because of food, putting in the wrong stuff or stressing or not sleeping. I mean, we have to turn a corner quickly, or it felt easier for me maybe to do it. I'm somebody that can go from here to here quick, just give it up. It's easy for me. But reading through this, when I read, for example, we make over 200 decisions about food each day. Well, that's really easy for me to stay on course. It just had me think about most people. It's not. That's 200 decisions a day just about food. There are thousands of other decisions people have to make. And with stress unmanaged, that makes those challenges even more so. So I guess it was just feeling really grateful for this work I get to do. Keeps me, on the honest track here, on the healthy track, and then having more compassion, for clients and others where these areas are really holdbacks in their life. But, again, given what we offer people, I can see how significantly you can change your life in a short time. So all of coming together last night doing this was really quite exciting. Just really great, knowing what tools we have in our hands for ourselves and others. So thanks. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Lori, for sharing. Anybody else want to share something that's, as you began the work? In our workbook, I don't know if most of you have gone through the coaching guide, but I think that's an important part. I love the illustration of the mason jar and getting your big rocks in place. I think it can be a tremendous help for clients as well. So, as you reflect and go through the exercise, I hope that we're all working to prepare to hear what our clients, where they are in their journey and what rocks are they placing. Anyone else want to share? Anyone?
Hey, Pat, this is Jill. Do I just talk?
Yes. Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we hear you. Good. Way to go, Jill.
So I'm coming at it from a different perspective than you guys as a brand new coach who's still on her journey.
Right.
For me, it was so important to write in pen because I had the other the workbook, and I had only ever I felt like I wasn't 100% committed. I wrote in pencil. I'm like, oh, I want to erase it and do it again. And I talked with Debbie about it, and I said, you know what? I'm going all in. I'm going to write in pen, and if I need to buy a new book in a year, I'll buy a new book in a year. And so for me, that was part of my committal. And one thing that I really liked was on page 35, after the cumulative score, it was talking about, I wrote in the side thing, areas of my life are dependent on each other. And I think for me, I tend to compartmentalize. Like, I think my food is one thing, my sleep is another, my stress is another, wherein I really need to I guess, understand that they're all integrated. And, so for me, that was like my big takeaway, that they're all interconnected. And yeah, that's about it.
Woo, amazing. And see, that's why I love this call. And that's the purpose of this call, is to bring in different perspectives, because we all learn from each other, and being in different places. And the good news is, guys, there's no right or wrong. This is our journey. But thank you so much for sharing, because that does help us to, keep look outside the box. Take the blinders off. We don't want to be coaches walking around with blinders here, because God knows that as we deal with and work with, are blessed to work with the clients we work with, they, come with so many different outlooks. So thank you, Jill, for sharing. Anyone else? Almost everyone have the new system, or Kathy Botany, you'll be next. Or do you know how to order? Just want to be sure. If anybody has that question, please put it in the chat or say it out loud. Kathy.
Thanks, Pat, and thanks for doing this. But what I wanted to say is that as I started, going through the whole system, what I decided is I wrote it in pencil, as you did. And then what I did is I also put it on a Word document, the bigger things, because what I committed to is that I am just going to work through this from element 1 all the way through. And then I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to just keep doing that forever and ever, because it's going to change every time I do it. And so I redid, the well-being evaluation, which how many times have we done that? We just had a group meeting, and we did it in our meeting as well. And so I just thought, this is a work in progress, and I'm a work in progress. And so I'm going to document the journey, but not just once, but have it for sort of perpetuity to see, because I wish I could have gone back to what I was like 10 years ago and how I've grown and where I've slipped.
Awesome. Another wonderful, wonderful idea. And by doing it in the Word document, you can date it and then go back and do it again. Amazing. Wonderful share. Anything else?
I'll go. I started the book, and I'm finding it so intense and helpful at the same time. Probably intense because, I'm going through the grief process now. So, of course, so much of so many of my answers are related to that. I mean, my why is so different now as a result of the past 2.5 years. But the one thing that I was thinking about yesterday, and I think I shared in our morning groups, is we have to be cognizant of the fact that this might open up some raw places for people, who have never looked at their lives, because we all know that there are so many emotionally unconscious people out there. So sometimes I think that this could stir the pot a little bit. So I think it was you, Pat, who said, well, okay, if you're not comfortable with this, let's go look at another element and we could circle back to it. I don't know if it was Pat or Kathy, because I did both Zooms yesterday morning. So that was helpful for me. But I just think that we really need to bring this awareness of where people are at when we're just meeting them and giving them this tool to grow, that it might awaken things that they weren't prepared to, and I think that, majority of our clients will be good with this, but I could certainly think of some clients that I've had that, you mentioned meditation or going to a salad bar or, doing yoga, and it's a real turnoff to them, so we just kind of have to know our peeps, I guess. Thank you.
And I think that's another wonderful point. Thank you, Elaine, for sharing. And I love the way even Dr. A shares it in the book, when he talks about journaling, that he used to be very uncomfortable with it and gave a couple of alternatives. So that's the beauty, is we have Dr. A in our pocket also that can, kind of do a lot of the police work maybe for us. And, to where when clients come to us, we, yes, I love being, very aware of it, but then we can be empathetic as well.
Yeah. You know what it kind of reminded me of was in graduate school, one of the things I had us do in a family systems class is to draw your genogram. And that was a hard thing to do back then, because I was younger, and, with the genogram, you put your family out there and the physical and the emotional. And I remember I looked at this genogram and it was like, oh my God. And, I was like overcome. And then I just stepped back and said, all right, well, you knew something wasn't quite right when you were growing up. So here it is, here it is. And, then I was able to use the tool to kind of like, okay, so this is the same. I hope this is the same for so many people, because it was an amazing experience for me, that genogram experience. And I think that this is going to be as well.
And that's what we want for our clients, is to create awareness and to help them move forward. Because sometimes we could be where we are and we're not sure why. But if we really peel that onion, we can recognize why. So another great share. Anyone else? In the coaching guide, there's a couple of pages. And of course, what I'm doing with my coaching guide is highlighting in yellow things that I feel are important, that I know I want to touch on as I use this guide with clients. And they talk about, first is just the introduction, then how is your life, which again is our current reality. I think that we really all are defining. And then after that, we go right into element one. And element one basically is being clear of why you are here. And so what I would like to do is go ahead and lead this group into element one and hear any thoughts or takeaways. And part of element one, just to be clear, is, I don't know how you guys felt when you opened the box and found these two huge books. But in element one, just as Dr. A has instructed us, is Habits of Health book is a textbook reference. A book that, we don't have to sit and read from cover to cover. If you want to, go for it. But it's more really what we'd like to do is have everyone start in Your Life book, and then he references this one. And in element one, he references, the first reference here is Are You Ready to Change, which is part 1.3 in the Habits of Health. So again, what I did going there is just took the time, I highlighted, things that spoke to me and what you can do. And I did a particular color, and I want to stick with this color to where if I do it the second time, or, additionally, you do different highlights, and that'll help to denote, when was I doing this? Was this my first highlight or not? So any takeaways from experiencing with element one? On, why are we here?
Well, I think, Pat, so much of it rests on honesty. And, we can all be in that kind of that dishonesty, place where we like to go. We our mindset tells us that we're okay with where we are. For those of us that are on a weight loss journey, we can say, well, we've lost 65 pounds and we're doing so much better. And so does that extra 30 pounds really matter? Because look how far we've come. So it's really keeping our eye on the prize at all times, and knowing that we can all, go further and go further. I'm like Lori, where making choices about food and healthy eating and movement and that kind of thing is never a struggle for me. I've never had a weight issue. I've always known that was important. But for me, it's the mindset that can be so stifling, and hold me back. Those concepts from the past and those experiences from the past, and those people, who have told me that, I couldn't amount to whatever, so that kind of stuff. But again, it's this whole system is so powerful in moving all of us forward in whatever area we struggle with. So yeah, we all have issues. I know I have a lot of issues, and this is such a wonderful system to help me move forward in those areas where I continue to struggle.
I agree, Dee. We can always, continue to work on ourselves. It's such a journey. One of the things is asking ourselves about our own motivation, and especially important when we're working with clients. Why are you here? Why you are here? Is the motivation coming from within, or is it coming from a spouse or a physician or somebody who says you shoulda, should, could, would, need to? And if that's the case, and I think as coaches, if we can, really work on element one to discover that, then we can help awaken them to something that would come from within them. Because I think most of us know, unless we're really working with motivation from within, that it's our staying power could be a lot shorter. So I think that's one of the important elements in element one, one of the important things in element one. And if we can zone in on that motivation, it will set someone up for success, hopefully, throughout the entire process. Anybody else have anything about motivation and element one?
Pat, it's Kathy. I'll comment on that, because that was something that profoundly hit me when I was doing that, is how much does it matter? As I was really digging deep. And it was like, how much does this matter to me, this five extra pounds? I mean, you say you lost X, but then, oh, no, there's 5 extra. How much does it matter? And so I really had to say and figure out, like, how much does it matter? And so that was really important to kind of get a grip on, does it matter or doesn't it matter? And so I thought that was super important. And then the other thing was that to reimagine what you would like to do that you can't do now, because it changes, and so for so many of our clients, they may have been with us off and on for a period of, a couple years, whatever. But to have them go back in and say, what can't you do that you would like to do? And for me, again, that was a really powerful piece. So when I'm coaching with my clients, I'm already seeing how helpful that's going to be for those that are in the middle of the journey somewhere, or reboots, as well as to revisit it with the clients that you get as we go forward, the new ones. Nice. So that was my takeaway.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And another question, sometimes if we're working with clients and even with ourselves, and you know, we tend to not always see the progress we've made and ourselves or with a client. And the great question is, what can you do now that you couldn't do before program? You know, to really help them not focus. We all tend to want to, I didn't do good this week, or I had this challenge, that challenge. We go to the negative. Let's go to the positive. What can you do now that you could not do before your program or before, you know, to really keep them thinking in a positive and what they've, and acknowledging the wonderful results they've already created. So that was important to me. In my coaching guide, I've made notes in the bottom when you get to the what's next is, you know, I am very hopeful that as we go through this, our clients will share what did they answer, you know, and I made notes, page 42 and 43. You know, I highlighted the things that were important to me now on page 42, and I hope they will. I mean, at first I checked them off, and I checked off, I think all but 2. And then I went back and said, okay, let's highlight the ones that are really important. You can't work on, you know, on all of them. And then, you know, working on filling in the blanks. On page 43 is when I realized I wasn't quite ready to answer the bottom. I put a big question mark, and I put that one in pencil, the question mark, and that's how I came up to maybe we need to do more of this in pencil if we're not quite sure. Where the top of 43, I answered, you know, and it was easy flowing. So that just told me I needed to spend a little more time in my heart to be able to complete this, and plan to complete it in the next day or 2. So basically, and then I love in the coaching guide, in the center here in the dark, which when we're looking at it'll be the right side, are the 3 questions that are also in the life book. But I mean, they are the questions, and you're asking the client or whoever's working the life book to answer on page 47 of your life book. They are the 3 questions. But as coaches, you know, if we're working with this coaching guide, the questions are here for us so that we can help clients to not only answer in their book, but sometimes when we say things out loud, it really makes it real. And it's part of the process of it becoming real, or engraving it into our hearts and our minds when they say it out loud. It's just like when we go through health assessment. You know, that's a time when a prospective client often will because they answer us out loud, it becomes very real to them. They hear themselves. And I want to encourage you with the weekly questions in each element. So anybody have anything else to share at this point up to now that about element 1? We're coming up to our 30 minutes already. That was pretty quick.
I don't have anything more. Oh, go ahead, Jill.
Well, I guess, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm going to be transparent a little bit here. I have been in heavy action with my business lately, and I tend to get very, like I schedule. My whole schedule is full, and then I bring my home stuff in, and I'm actually really struggling right now with balance and finding time to do this. So I've just barely cracked the books. So I kind of want to find out from this call how you guys are fitting it into your lives. Are you sitting down with all 3 things in front of you at the same time and going back and forth? I mean, are you doing a little bit every day? What is it looking like for you guys?
You're muted, Elaine.
And I know Karen Anderson's worked with hers as well. So Karen, if you want to share a little bit. Go ahead, Elaine.
I started out, let's do 15 minutes a day. That's how I started out. And then one day it was like, oh, wow, okay, I'm going to do another 15 minutes. So, you know, that's kind of working for me. I need to put some structure in my life right now, else you know, it wouldn't be good. So it started out like, okay, let's structure your day and how do you want it to look? So it's right in there with meditation, yoga, movement, journaling, but this satisfies me. This, which was what? Who said what?
In a few minutes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, all right. Anyway, so this fits in, really well instead of journaling, because it's the same type of, I'm getting a lot of insight in it. So 15 minutes a day, you can find 15 minutes if you want.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you. Karen?
Yeah, when I started, I just was really gung-ho and I got going and I worked on it, several hours and got going with it. And then I got away from it for 4 or 5 days. And then when I went back to it, it was like I kind of had to review it. And so I'm thinking that for me, Jill, if this is any help, that it would probably be better for me to do it a little bit each day or every other day rather than do a big chunk and then not come back to it for a week. Just to really keep it, in my heart kind of thing and really have it be, leading me in the directions that I want to do. So it doesn't take as long as you would think. It really doesn't. I mean, when I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't get anybody to do the workbook and the other one, I'll never be able to get right. And then I got started and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel just like Cheryl. I just want to get this. I mean, I want this in the hands of a few, like 4 or 5 of my clients that I'm specifically thinking of so badly right now that I almost want to make copies of it. I mean, I'm not going to, but do you know what I mean? It's just like, this is the missing piece for a lot of people to really hone in on, why this mind part is so, so important. Cheryl?
I have to say I had a busy week also this week, Jill. I worked on it for an hour this morning before the call. But the thing I want to say, and I think is probably true for you and some of the other coaches on here, we spent a lot of time thinking about this. I mean, I was on the phone with Pat this morning and I told her what my why was, and I went back in and I just wrote it down because I've been thinking about it a lot lately. We're sort of in the habit as older coaches of thinking about this a lot. So I don't think, like Karen says, it will take you as long as you think. I'm going to try to develop a consistent habit. The other thing I wanted to mention before we cut off is, he says keep the Habits of Health book on the shelf for reference. And it's daunting. It's over 500 pages. We don't want our clients to I can understand that because we don't want them to look at it and go, oh my God, I can't do this. I would also like to challenge us all. I'm thinking I'm going to try to read 2 or 3, at least a few pages a day alongside this other stuff, because remember how cool it is when you're working with your clients and you can reference back. He's making references. Okay, chapter 1.3. That's great. And I'm sure those are super important parts. But there may be other nuggets in here that if you get it into your head enough, you'll be able to say to your client, oh my God, go read on such and such a chapter, page in the Habits of Health book. I want to get to that point. Obviously, 500 pages is going to take me a while, but my goal is to know it well enough, again, that I can be the guide to say, holy smokes, this chapter would be perfect for you right now. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Great. Kathy, and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, I just was going to say that 2 things. One, I love, Cheryl, with you talking about the guide, because that is something that we do all the time. We guide people back to certain places that were valuable and that we know will feed them right then. But what we did in our morning group is we just challenged ourselves, everybody, all the coaches, to do 15 minutes a day. So if I get done with 15 minutes, then I can go to Dr. A's book. In other words, if I've done the piece that I need to do in the element, then I go back into the book, but I just commit 15 minutes every single day. And you're right, Karen, it keeps it fresh.
Yeah,
that's all.
Great point. Another thing that, in the coaching guide, and just, I went on and I started last Sunday, I think. And when I realized that the introduction was, 35 pages, I didn't realize, that was a section in itself. Then the element 1 was another 12 pages. I went on and did a live so that, because I'm the kind of person I want to wait till Friday night to get ready for Saturday morning sometimes. And that's when I realized, okay, we need to do this more than just, at the hour, 30 minutes before. Also, our coaching guide, different elements are recommended times. Like element 2 is a 1 week, where element 3 and 4, Dr. A recommends 1 to 2 weeks. So it kind of depends. I would think the work will dictate. But if we look at element 2, it's about 30 pages in the life book. So I would recommend, wait till, I love the few minutes a day. I think it keeps it alive in our hearts and our minds. Want to, again, congratulate each and every one of you for coming, even if you're watching on the recording. We know that, our time on the Saturday is not always available to all of us, but hope we're going to continue having these weekly, and we're going to have different leaders will be facilitating on a weekly basis, and we hope you'll come back. Same time, same place. Team Creating Health Facebook group is where we'll post about this, but I mean, it's the same time, same Zoom. Put it in your calendar, put it on a weekly reminder so that you know where to go and what time. Any final questions before we say goodbye?
No, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Lori.
Oh, I was just going to make sure then for the next week, we're on next Saturday is what you're saying, each Saturday. Go through the next element is what I'm sorry?
Element 2 for next week.
1 element per week then is what we're covering.
As of right now, we'll look as we go through and see, if we're trying to cover as much as we can before conference, and the leaders that are going to be facilitating are going to meet. And if we decide to do 1 or 2 elements, we'll let you know this Saturday, okay, let's do 2 elements before next week. So we can get as much as possible is where I'm thinking, but that's not in concrete yet. Anything else?
Thank you, Pat. Great Zoom.
Great time together. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Holiday weekend. Bye-bye.
You too.